Hey everyone, Arthur here. Let's take a close look and more importantly determine which kind of gamers would be a good fit for beloved Rapture. Beloved Rapture is a traditional style turn-based RPG that offers a very classic experience with some very important pinches of brilliance that makes it rather remarkable. But no game is for everyone, so let's find out who is Beloved Rapture for. Welcome to the channel, this is From the Void. Okay, here we divide reviews in 4 categories: graphics worth 2 points, music and sound for another 2, gameplay and challenge, those are closely tied together and worth 4 points, and the spirit, where we analyze the more subjective features that make a game unique, such as atmosphere, story, setting, level design, interface, originality, and more. Now, once you start playing Beloved Rapture, it becomes quickly noticeable that it intentionally keeps things classic in every single way it can. Graphics are totally 16-bit. I bet most of this game could probably fit a SNES cartridge, at least in the graphical side, and I love it. I always say this, to me pixel art is timeless if well done, and this is a great example of that. The character sprites are excellent, locations are lush and vibrant with lots of details. I mean, this is remarkable, an absolute joy. Graphics still fall a bit short of perfection though, on a few aspects, but mainly on the character portraits. Those are not the best, could have used some more work, and portraits are incredibly important to make us like the characters and even to convey their emotions. So it's a bit of a letdown that the portraits are not as good as everything else. And also, many of the more important NPCs don't even have a portrait, which is disappointing. There are also a few pixel blocks out of place here and there, and some clipping I experienced, but those are very minor. So nonetheless, almost everything in the graphical side is definitely positive, including the animations. This completely stands apart from any RPG Maker looking game, including when you pick up an item, which may be a small thing, but makes a world of difference to the enjoyment. Then in battle, some of the later skills and spells are quite flashy and awesome, and one thing that may be a small watershed aspect in the game is that the enemies in combat are mostly small sprites. I like these, but some people may prefer the old school Final Fantasy style big and more detailed monsters, but this will be up to you. Beloved Rapture also goes for the nostalgia factor in the audio side. Many times the soundtrack brought me back to the SNES days, especially to Secret of Mana. Excellent throwback soundtrack here, great for setting the mood in each location and quite enjoyable throughout. Sound effects are absolutely excellent, but many are too similar to other games, so some people may frown upon that. But if you don't, they are absolutely effective to make you feel the hits in battle, and even when using items, opening the menu and all that, great sound effects. My only true issue with the audio was a minor one. Some of the songs don't loop very well, they stutter a bit, but like I said, no biggie. Beloved Rapture also goes old school on the gameplay side, and here will be the biggest gap maker for this game. Combat is the most important gameplay aspect for RPGs, so let's go straight to that. We have a very traditional style system here. You can choose if it's active turn-based, where enemies will not wait for you to make decisions, or full turn-based, where they will, which is just like Chrono Trigger and a nice option to have. However, picking items or spells does pause the battle, even in active mode, which is a great thing, because having to rush to pick an item and not finding it in a huge list is not fun for anyone, I think. But yeah, battles are very classic turn-based here. You can attack, use a skill, pick an item, or defend. Defending brings a small twist, which I appreciate. It actually heals a small but meaningful percentage of your health, which can make a big difference, and drastically reduces the damage taken. So if you can anticipate a strong attack incoming, game, this is a major help. However, this seems to only make a difference for physical attacks, not magic. And once the party gets big enough, it's hard to get the right character to defend, so it ends up becoming more a way to heal without using items or magic, and maybe reduce damage. The game also doesn't explain the feature very well. Using Krista's defense seemed also to put Johann in defensive mode in some occasions, but I was never sure why or how or if it even was effective, so though it's a good change to defending that makes it much more useful, which I definitely appreciate, this could have been better. There is also a very nice different attack in this game. Whenever a character attacks or uses skills 3 times in the same battle, the Relica meter fills up and you can use a Relica attack. Those are much more powerful and also cost a lot of MP, but are definitely worth it. This is super simple, like a special in a fighting game where you need to fill a meter first, only much easier to perform, but it's very effective to both add a new layer of strategy to the battles and to make them feel much more dynamic. Other than those two things, battles are straightforward and as classic as they come, and some will like that while others won't. This is arguably the most important aspect in the game, so we have a huge gap maker in the score here. But let me be clear, if you do like traditional turn-based combats, Beloved Rapture is going to be an absolute treat for you. Outside of battle, things also shine a lot. Combat adjacent aspects like leveling up and especially upgrading your magical abilities and your weapons in shops are fantastic, mostly because of how this ties the combat side of the game to what I believe is the game's strongest aspect, the exploration. Oh my god, this game is hands down one of the best RPGs when it comes to exploration, and I'm so happy about that. The areas are huge with lots of hidden paths, hidden items, so much to do, I can't emphasize it enough, and this ties to the game's spirit because level design is superb. You can swim, push objects, there's fishing, verticality in the exploration, you can drop down and climb up, lots of meaningful interesting puzzles to solve, mini games like shooting range and blackjack, and all, like I said, in humongous areas to get lost in. This also complements the side quests nicely, some pretty cool side quests here that even open up new places for you to explore, and the rewards are usually very meaningful, exactly what you need for the weapon and magical upgrades, and those open up new and awesome abilities. Simply put, we got a fantastic out-of-battle gameplay in Beloved Rapture, making it totally a non-linear game, another aspect that old-school RPG fans will likely appreciate a lot, and the only possibly negative thing here is that the game locks you out from previous places a lot. That's also something some will not mind, while others will take issue with. Challenge-wise, the game felt easy after the initial 20% and for a long time in the game, even without grinding at all, but I did do almost all of the side quests. But then the ending went back to being hard, and the optional quests and places like the Colosseum were a real challenge as well. So we have a gap maker here with a somewhat easy big chunk of the middle part of the game, as well as a certain positive aspect of bringing optional high challenges even for meticulous players. Next, we analyze the spirit of Beloved Rapture, and this is where we talk about the more subjective features like story, setting, character development, originality, the game's overall feel, and here Beloved Rapture shines a lot. The main thing is one I touched on briefly already, how everything comes together in this game, making clear that this counts with some awesome progression, exploration, combat, and the more spirit aspects like the story and character development all come together very nicely, resulting in a game with a fantastic pace, especially after the initial 20%. It's a hard game to stop playing, which is less common in chunky games like RPGs, and that means the game counts with great game design. Story, dialogues, and character development are well done. Some pretty interesting comments in this game made it extra worth it to pay attention to the dialogues, and there's a good amount of mature content, which should also appeal nicely to old school RPG fans who are well in their 30s and 40s now, as the game has some heavy parts on the story, a considerable amount of gore, a lot of daddy issues here for a lot of characters in a good way, and interesting motivation for the characters. In conclusion, Beloved Rapture is a game full of heart, meticulously well done in many ways. Graphics are excellent except for the portraits, which are rather important, so it makes a dent here. There are also a few minor details, so it ended up between a 1.5 and 1.6 out of 2. Music is solid with a very minor loop problem, 1.7 to 1.8 here. Then gameplay will be very divisive. This game will be much more for the traditional turn-based RPG fan. There's nothing to really complain about here. It's much more a matter of taste than of actual negative gameplay aspects. Even the fact that the game locks you out of previous areas is not necessarily a problem given how awesome and huge each new area is, but since battles are so important for an RPG, this ends up with a huge score range between 2 and 3.8 out of 4. Finally, the spirit. This game got lots of it, with everything coming superbly well together, evidencing both a great progression system as well as a great overall game design. Some will like the more mature subjects more than others, but bottom line is very positive here for sure, so I give it an 1.8 to perfect 2 gap here. Now, before we tally up the final score, this channel is partially and most importantly funded through Patreon. Covering lesser known games is a tough track to race in here on YouTube due to how niche this is, so growth is too slow and YouTube ad monies are currently not enough for sustainability. So if you appreciate the channel and can spare a buck or a few on Patreon, it would mean the world to me. So alright, the final score range for beloved Rapture sits between a 7 and a 9.2 depending on the kind of player you are, which I briefly describe on screen now. As for my personal score, as a big turn-based RPG fan, I can deeply appreciate beloved Rapture, so this is a 9.1 for me. And that's it everyone, thank you so much for your support, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.